for all of the excellent stuff that you're going to hear about today, things that are sitting on your table, and that quality profile that we'll talk a little bit about. So when I say your name, if you're able to just stand up real quick to be recognized, I'd appreciate it. Mary Augustinovich. Mary. Mary's been an aide for us at Overlook Elementary and Crossing Guard at Isham. Thank you, Mary. Pam Chalky. English teacher at Wadsworth High School and in charge of our drama production program. Thank you, Pam. Val Dannemiller. Aide at Wadsworth High School. Thank you, Val. Rochelle Hanchy, language arts teacher. Wadsworth Middle School. Tony Indovina. A bus driver and an aide at Valley View Elementary School. Barb Jensen. Special education aide, Wadsworth Middle School. John Johnson. Economics teacher, Wadsworth High School, head soccer coach, and if you come to one of our games in the fall, you'll see John continuing to coach for us. Deborah Kosminski. Speech and language pathologist, most recently Franklin Elementary and Central Intermediate School. Scott Curvin. 7th grade math and science, Wadsworth Middle School. Mary Lynn. 4th grade teacher, Franklin Elementary. Laura Nagy. Intervention specialist, Valley View Elementary. Mia O'Connor. Secretary, Wadsworth High School. Mark Postak. Math teacher, Wadsworth High School. Sandy Ryan. Custodian at Central Intermediate. Jody Starcher. Special education aide, most recently Central Intermediate, years at Lincoln Elementary. Joe Supan. Woodworking teacher, Wadsworth High School. Joe's position has been nearly impossible to fill. I think we found somebody finally the other day, Joe. Congratulations. I want to thank, and again, the retirees for their work. We have a total of 27, actually, since the last time we were here in May that are retiring. The others couldn't join us today. But again, it's because of you that we're able to do so many of the things that we can for students. So we wish you nothing but the best in whatever the future holds for you. Thanks for joining us today. I want to take a moment to recognize our Board of Education members that are here today. Our board sets the tone and provides the leadership for our entire school district, all 650 plus employees, 4,000 plus students, 400 plus volunteers, everybody that works for us. So here today are our Vice President, Tim Beck, members Julie Beatty and Jill Stevens, and unable to join us due to work commitments, President Amanda Gordon and member Gary McComas. So I want to remind you as you're watching through this, our district's mission statement was revised about 4 years ago now through the work of one of our committees. This is what we strive to do in our work every day with kids, and really sets the focus for us as we make decisions and do future planning and daily decisions. So it's an important aspect that we look to live and breathe every day. This time, I'm going to turn it over to our treasurer, Doug Beeman. There's a lot happening, as you're going to hear from Doug, in the world of school funding. And so he's going to kind of bring you up to speed on where we're at and how all of this then ties into everything else that I'll return to present in a few minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. So I just want to share a little bit of information about the status of our school district when it comes to the finances, and probably more importantly, what's happening in Columbus right now around property tax reform and the upcoming biennial budget. So those 4 items on the screen there are kind of what I'm going to highlight for you this afternoon. So first, on property tax reform, you may have heard a lot of talk about this in the media right now. We're dealing with a situation with high inflation, and particularly high inflation related to home values. So I actually just met this morning with Medina County Auditor Capretta and some members of his staff. They are projecting between a 20 and 30% increase in property values on the residential side with the 2025 Medina County reappraisal. So I hear a couple uhs. Settle down. A 20 to 30% increase in property values does not mean a 20 to 30% increase in property tax. So when property values go up, because of House Bill 920 passed in 1976, so property values go up, your effective millage rate on voted levies has to be rolled back, so you in essence pay the same now as you did when that levy was passed. Okay, so that's the case in Wadsworth. So let's fast forward down to there, the 20 mil floor. Let's talk about 20 mil floor real quick and why I say not Wadsworth. So I mentioned property values go up, effective millage rate goes down, you pay the same. However, for schools, there's this thing called the 20 mil floor. When a school district gets to 20 mils, they can't go any lower. So House Bill 920 in 1976 is what allows that millage to roll back. In essence, House Bill 920 is negated when you hit the 20 mil floor. Over half the school districts in the state of Ohio are at the 20 mil floor. In Medina County, 6 of the 8 school districts are either at the 20 mil floor or will be as a result of reappraisal. Wadsworth is not. Okay? So if you live in another school district in Medina County, move to Wadsworth. It's that simple. Because if you live in another district in Medina County other than Wadsworth or Medina, and you have a 25% increase in your property values, your tax bill is going to go up 20 to 30%. In Wadsworth, it'll probably go up 5 to 7% because of that House Bill 920 that I just talked about on all of our voted levies. All right, so that's important to understand. I also have in there, we don't like it either. So when property values go up, we don't get any additional money because that millage rate's rolled back, but our state aid is impacted because part of the state formula is this component called local capacity, which looks at our values of our homeowners. So reappraisal doesn't necessarily help us either, but the good thing in Wadsworth is we're not at the 20 mil floor. The county auditor also wanted me to ask me if I would share that they will have an informal appeal process through the county auditor's office when you get letters. So letters will go out late July, early August with your new home values. When you get those, there'll be a process in there where you can do an informal review and then take that to a formal review if you need to. Okay. So I mentioned all this because property tax reform is a big issue in the state of Ohio right now because of what I mentioned. Over half the school districts in the state of Ohio are at the 20 mil floor, which means people are seeing huge tax bill increases when they have a reappraisal or a triennial update. All right. Senate Bill 66 is out there. The biennial budget I'm going to talk about here in a second, House Bill 96, is another one that has property tax reform built into it. Like I said, those aren't necessarily impacting us right now, but they could in the future. So that biennial budget, state sets a budget every 2 years that impacts our funding that we get. We had the governor's proposal come out in January, the House proposal came out a month or so ago, and the Senate is currently reviewing that. What does that mean for Wadsworth City Schools? Well, the two are dramatically different. Okay, you can see there that the governor's proposal wanted to phase out the Fair School Funding Plan, which is the formula of how they calculate how much we get per student. They also didn't want to increase the input factor. So what do I mean by that? They were using input factors, so average teacher salary, average administrator salary, what it costs to educate a kid in Wadsworth City Schools. They wanted to continue to use what they're using in the current formula, which is data from fiscal year 2022. It's 2026 when this goes into effect. That's obviously a concern and an issue for us. They wanted to phase out the guarantee. The guarantee simply says if you, through that formula, you're projected to get less money than you did the year before, that you will continue to receive equal funding from the previous year. All that added together under the governor's proposal meant $2.5 million less in state aid for the Wadsworth City Schools over the next 2 years. Obviously very concerning. Fast forward to the House's proposal. They took the governor's proposal and flipped it upside down. They wanted to pause the fair school funding plan, so again, the formula, they wanted to kind of do away with it. The leadership in the House right now is not a proponent of public education and not a proponent of the fair school funding plan. They wanted to change the 5-year forecast to a 3-year forecast, and they wanted to put a 30% reserve carryover limit on school carryover balances. So those two kind of tie together. So I'm going to fast forward to this slide here. You can see this is our revenue and expenditures. Our revenue, the blue line, remains relatively flat. Why? I mentioned state aid, they aren't giving us any more. House Bill 920 doesn't allow property values to grow, so unless we pass a new levy, we don't necessarily generate new money year over year. So what way schools operate now is they pass a levy. We passed a levy in 2021. You can see that blue line exceeded the red line. We were saving money. We were building up our reserves. In 24, they intersected, and now we're deficit spending. We're spending more than we're bringing in by plan, not because of mismanagement, not because we don't know what we're doing. By plan, we are spending down those reserves. That levy was projected to last for 4 or 5 years, and that's what it's going to do. Okay. If they limit carryovers to 30%, school districts aren't going to be able to do that. So what does that mean? That means more levies for less millage. So right now, we typically ask for a levy every 4, 5, 6 years for 6, 7, 8 mills. We're not going to be able to do that because that 6, 7, 8 mil levy in those first year is going to generate more money for us than that 30% limit allows. So we're not going to be able to spend that down. So we're going to have more levies with lower millage rates more often. So instead of every 4, 5, 6 years, we're talking every year's levies of 1, 2, and 3 mills. Right? That's a concern because voter fatigue, keep going back to the voters asking for levies. People aren't going to necessarily understand that we're asking for 1 and 2 mil levies versus 5 and 6. They're just going to remember, you asked last year, you're asking again. So that's a huge concern for us moving forward if that proposal goes in. Why 3 years instead of 5? This is my opinion, but every school district in the state of Ohio is going to show a deficit balance in years 4 and 5 if we can't have adequate carryover reserves. So instead of addressing the problem that everybody's going to have a negative balance, the legislature said, let's just take those 3 years off the forecast and then the problem goes away. But it doesn't really go away. So those are the two proposals that the governor and the House has presented, waiting to see what the Senate comes up with. They have to adopt a new budget by June 30th. It'll probably look a lot different than both of those. But those are some of the things that we're following right now that are impacting us. So you saw that, the revenue versus expenditure graph, where our expenditures are exceeding our revenues. We also are having declining enrollment right now. Year over year, we're educating less kids than the previous year. So we have been implementing some staffing reductions. You can see with this year, we had a net change of 0, but we actually eliminated 4 positions. We expanded the Grizzly Academy. I'm sure Dr. Hill will talk more about the Grizzly Academy here during his portion. For next year, you can see that we're reducing an additional 8 positions while adding an additional 6 positions for the Grizzly Academy as that grows from a K-5 program to a K-12 program. So a net increase of -2 positions next year. The 2 graphs just show our total spend on salaries and then the increase in the blue graph year over year on what we're projecting for increased percentages of staffing. And you can see we have a staffing reduction plan that goes out the next 2 years to reduce additional teachers as long as our enrollment projections remain like they are right now. So just kind of to wrap it up, you can see there's our 5-year forecast ending cash balances. We do show, again, a negative balances in the final 2 years because we're at that end of that levy cycle that I mentioned earlier. So by plan, by design, we projected to have that when we passed that levy in 2021. I added that carryover percentage, so I talked about that 30% carryover limit in the House's proposal. You can see where ours are. So it doesn't necessarily impact us right now because we're right around that 30% because we are at the end of the levy cycle versus a lot of my colleagues in other districts. who are looking at this from a totally different lens because they're at the beginning of a levy cycle. So if this was happening in 2021, it would be impacting us a lot different than it impacts us in 2025 when we're at the end of a levy cycle. But it will impact us moving forward, like I mentioned, with those different options available as far as how we look at levies in the future and how much we ask for. So that's just a quick summary of where we are in the financial perspective, particularly what's happening in Columbus and is impacting us. And I'll turn it back over to Dr. Hill.
Doug does a fantastic job laying all of that out. Hopefully the rest of the news gets better throughout the rest of the presentation today. It's necessary, though, for us to make sure that we understand where we're at as it relates to the funding with especially the state of Ohio. Our board is keeping a close eye on things. Obviously, we're advocating for strong support at the state level for public education. But we're waiting to see where this thing ends up. Doug mentioned right now the House version is in the Senate. We expect the House or the Senate to release their version soon. At some point that will go through a conference committee of members from the House and the Senate before it gets to the governor, where the governor then can line item veto different things. The deadline on all of that is supposed to have an operating budget in place by July 1st. So over the next month and a half, we'll have a better understanding of where we stand so that we can make better informed decisions on how we proceed based off of where the state budget puts us moving forward. So moving into some other things then, on your table, I mentioned earlier this quality profile. This is the 23-24. We release a new one every August or beginning of September timeframe, around the time the state report card is released. So this is our most current quality profile, and I just want to take a moment to share that within this document, you'll find all kinds of different things, whether if you're interested in scores and how our students are achieving at the state level with college remediation courses, whatever your interest may be, if you're interested in what type of offerings that we have throughout our school district in different areas, whether it's advanced placement courses, college credit plus courses at the high school, what type of gifted services or other things that we offer. If you're interested in extracurricular opportunities, you'll see all of the different opportunities that are available to students and some things about recognition that our different programs have received. We continue to expand upon those opportunities for kids, whether it's courses, whether it's extracurricular activities. Esports is new to us at the high school this year. It started at the middle school last year. And the list of opportunities just continue to go on and on. So I encourage you, take a look at that quality profile. It's because of the generous support that we receive from our community and the level of support that we get through the state biennial budget that we're able to offer all of these type of opportunities for kids. Not every school district's quality profile looks like this. Not every school district has the ability to offer a lot of opportunities above and beyond what's considered state minimum for students. And so we continue to be very thankful for the opportunities that our students that are here today receive and all of the others because of that support. I want to take some time here to walk you through some of the big things happening in our district right now, the changes that'll be taking place. I'm going to start with Wadsworth Intermediate School. So Wadsworth Intermediate School, which is what our board has decided we're going to call the new building, will be opening in August for grades 5 and 6. We'll be closing Central Intermediate School here next Friday, is the last student day in that building. We do plan, by the way, and we'll have information out soon, but I believe we're going to allow for community walkthrough of that facility tied into the June First Friday event. So there'll be information on that if that's something that you're interested in. But Wadsworth Intermediate School is a project that you, the community, approved us to move forward with in November of 2021. We moved forward. We battled escalating costs in the construction industry that are unprecedented. Our board went back, got creative with funding, revised the budget, and that revised our timeline a little bit. But since we got through the bidding the second time, we are within our revised budget, and we're scheduled to have this open on time. Open on time means the school portion will be ready in August for the first day of school for students. The performing arts portion of this facility will not be ready until November, December timeframe. What I want to show you here, though, if these will work, I thought we'd give you a little bit of a view of the inside. So I'll kind of tell you what you're looking at as we go around. This is a drone that was taken, some footage by our technology department. If watching motion makes you sick, you may want to turn away for a couple of minutes here. Okay, what you're looking at, though, what you're about to see is entering what's going to be the main entrance for the school portion. So this would be the southwest side of the building. It's making a turn into what's going to be one of our 5th grade hallways. This is set up with 2 wings on the west side of the building. One is 5th grade, one is 6th grade. These were taken about 3.5 weeks ago. Progress continues to be made. It's amazing how much happens in a week on the inside here. Okay, I got a couple more to show you. I believe this is starting in our 2nd floor, one of the ELAs that's going to go from downstairs, upstairs, and then throughout a good portion of the building. So the classrooms are on the left and right side here. It's looking into some of the classrooms. These are extended learning spaces where there'll be opportunities for things to be done with students and teachers out in these shared spaces. There will be doors that go into each of the rooms. Those have yet to be installed, glass and then doors. This is one of the smaller classrooms. I believe this is an intervention specialist room. So it's a little smaller than the standard classrooms. So it's going to take us out to a shared hallway on the 2nd floor, that when you turn left, there's a stairwell that goes down by the entrance. So the main entrance would be to the right where we came in earlier. This is the cafeteria area. On the left side of that wall is where the Performing Arts Center is. Looking straight on there is the kitchen area. You're going to see a little glimpse when we get further down on the right. Those doors on the far right enter into the gymnasium. There's a separate event entrance that goes out on the south side of the building. That's what's viewing right there. And then to the right, that's the administrative office area and that wing that we just looked at. And then that direction goes to the Performing Arts Center, but also to our music wing, which we'll go back to in a moment. And on the top level above the administrative offices is where our student services suite is, so school counselors, support services, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech, other services would be found up here. The art room is on the 2nd floor looking over that commons area as well. Sorry. At that far end, what is currently the wood, are glass windows. Those are actually starting to be installed now, the curtain walls. If you were to drive by the building today on the west side, you could really look straight into the building in most locations. back to the first floor ELA. I got two more I want to show you here. It should be the one that is, so this is our choir room. This is kind of the northeast side of the building, facing Broad Street. There's an office area in between that's shared with band and choir, which is what we're going to kind of see to the left. Band's straight ahead. I think we're going to take a little detour though to get there. It's a hallway where there's some dressing rooms and other things that'll be utilized with the Performing Arts Center. The Performing Arts Center, by the way, purposefully as part of planning, knowing that we were going to be selling the intermediate school building, the current building, and OJ work, while the goal is for that to continue to be used for community use. So this is the band room. And one more. It's going to take us in, I believe, the office area. So this is the main entrance where you come in. What you're not seeing at the moment, it's not installed yet, there is an atrium where you get buzzed into the building. Then this takes us back to where there's different offices. So this would be the kind of the south, and we're moving east in the building. There's some conference rooms back here, teacher work station area. That'll be here to the right. I think what's really exciting about this project, so Steve Moore, our assistant superintendent, Brandon Cobb, the intermediate school principal, Krista Goddard Hallecky, our intermediate school assistant principal, the teachers at the current intermediate building, and even students at the intermediate school have all been involved in multiple stages of planning the design for this building to make sure that we're optimizing the use of space. So it's really exciting to see all of this coming together. We will get there. I know for a long time on the outside, every time somebody drove by, up until recently, the comments were, there's no way that's going to be ready. We have been told every time that we ask that there's no doubt that this facility will be ready by the beginning of school in August. A lot of the work that on the outside is making people feel that way is starting to happen with grading, and then also with the wood being replaced with the curtain wall windows. That's starting to give quite the look to the building as it's worked through. I was mentioning about the Performing Arts Center. While our goal, and I'll talk about that in a moment, is for that to continue to be used for community use. When we were planning this facility, we had two challenges that the board wanted to make sure they addressed. The first was, when we sell it, even though we're going to, whatever pathway we use has to follow the law, and we're going to try to make sure it gets used, we'll no longer be the owners of OJ Work. The second one was, and it's a good problem for us, but our drama department, choir, band, regularly selling out concerts and productions. Which we wanted to build something then that had a larger seating capacity than the James R. McIlvaine Performing Arts Center at the high school. So the new auditorium being built will seat about 1,000 people, which is roughly 250 or so more than what the current high school facility holds. It's about the same, a little bit more than what OJ Work Auditorium holds. So we're excited. So there'll be more on this. We do plan, we don't have a date yet as we work and get closer to when we can do this, but we do plan to have a community event where people can walk through the new building as well before we start the school year. I'm going to transition here. The Grizzly Academy. So Doug talked about the Grizzly Academy. If you're not familiar with it, the Grizzly Academy is our alternative school that we started 2 school years ago. The reason that we did that is because the number of students that were experiencing challenges in a traditional school setting were becoming exponential. And because we didn't have an alternative program in-house to be able to offer, we were sending a lot of students out to other places around, like LEAP in Rittman, Evolve in Medina, at Rise Academy in Seville, and the list went on and on with these alternative places. So we were working, as we always do, to find the best placements that we can for students to meet their needs, as determined in most cases by what's called the Individual Education Program Team, that's comprised of administrators, teachers, parents, guardians, and others. But we were experiencing an increase in pretty significant costs in tuition to have students outside of our district, transportation costs, and another factor that is equally, if not more important, it's hard to have conversations and tell families that we can't educate their student in Wadsworth City Schools. Take a lot of pride with what we do. So our student service department, led by Joyce Walker, pitched the idea to start our own alternative school. So 2 years ago, our board gave approval for that, and they gave approval for us to do it in a way where we phased it in. We wanted to make sure there was a strong foundation, and so that was an expense for year 1. An expense that they knew that we would have. We started it in grades K through 4. After looking over a lot of places in the city, within the district boundaries and township, we were unable to locate a place that we thought would work best, so we converted about 1/3 of the administration building, the old Overlook Elementary, into the Grizzly Academy. This current school year, we expanded that through grade 5. And on the financial side of things, the last numbers that Mr. Beeman ran, when we consider all things with expenses and what we would have paid out elsewhere, the expansion, the teachers that you saw on the slides that we've added, we're about at a positive savings of $75,000 for the school year. And our projections that we gave the board back in February of 2023, when we initially pitched the idea, showed savings starting once we got to that full K-12 model. So we relocated some of our offices from the administration building this year as we expanded. They're now about 2/3 of the administration building. And what's currently happening is we're relocating the others. So yesterday, my office and the assistant superintendent's office moved over to the high school. Next month, the instruction office and student services office will move over to the high school. In July, once we close the fiscal year and we're in new fiscal year 26, our treasurer's office will move over to the high school, and this entire building will be Grizzly Academy. So we have a lot of moving parts that are happening here. We have a move from the current intermediate school to the new one. We have the administration offices relocating to the high school where we have space, because we do have a declining enrollment. We have been reducing positions through attrition, as you saw earlier. So there is space for us to relocate. So the administrative offices, we're using July 1st as the official date, but we'll be in the 12 and 2200 hallways at Wadsworth High School moving forward. In Grizzly Academy, we have a number of students. I think we're somewhere between 60, 70 students that we plan to have in that facility for the upcoming school year. Central Intermediate School, we get asked about this a lot, so we're going to be finishing the school year, moving to the new one in August. Our board went through a process in November, and then finalized things in January with the selection, and we're still working through some contractual stuff. But back when the board first broached the topic about do we need a new intermediate school building, They formed a committee around 2016-17. We had a number of people in the community from all walks of life, all ages, come and be part of that committee. They made 2 recommendations to the board. One was build a new 5th, 6th grade intermediate school on a different location. The second one was within the path allowable by law to dispose real property for a school board. Try to sell this to somebody that will continue to use it for community use, at minimum, OJ Work Auditorium. So the board has been working with that kind of as their aspirational goal for this facility since they adopted or approved the recommendations from that committee years ago. So in November, they released a request for proposals for anyone that wanted to submit how they would use this facility, what they would pay for, what it would look like. We received 3. The board had meetings in January and finalized the selection of a group called One Central Commons, which intends to use a variety of different purposes here. If you haven't seen it, we have their request, their proposal online. But their intention is to create a 501c3 for use of the auditorium, to create a 501c3 for the use of the gymnasium, and then a variety of other uses for the rest of the school building that some deal with residential, some deal with businesses located within, but to keep the facility and use it as a way to benefit the downtown area economically. The board chose to use the legal pathway in law that allows us to do a sale through a third-party entity, the Medina County Port Authority. And we are currently engaged in conversations with the board's attorney, the Port Authority's attorney, and One Central Commons attorney to finalize the contract agreements. And we anticipate some point in the very near future that our board and the Port Authority will be presented with contracts that they need to approve. As far as when we will vacate the building, we believe that we'll have everything out. There'll probably be an auction of some items we're not going to use by the end of December of this calendar year. There's the possibility, though, that that group may take possession sooner so that they can get moving on the parts they want to, with the understanding that we are able to get our belongings out up until the end of this calendar year. Another thing I mentioned last year that was going to be a focus that we looked at this year, this is really the last part of our current strategic plan that we have not gotten into. It's the middle and high school athletic complex master plan process. The goal is to create recommendations to the board for how to proceed. So when we talk about this middle and high school athletic complex, it's the areas that sit to the south side of the middle and the high school for the most part. Some of them sit in between. And it's not just athletics that we're looking at here. As an example, our band has a practice area that's also the bus parking lot that sits in between the 2 buildings that has some challenges. So we had a committee that was put together this year. The committee had a number of recommendations for all of these different areas. The board most recently approved us to work with an architect, the FMD architects, to be able to give us costs that the board can then consider as they move forward into their next strategic planning process on what all of the different recommendations from the committee would entail. So that we're in the process right now. We're expecting the pricing on the recommendations from the committee to come from FMD Architects the end of July, which times up for what the board needs to do with their current strategic plan. 2 other areas that FMD Architects are helping us on. This is looking north from the entrance exit off of Broad Street to the high school. The board has for years, even before that Overlook Elementary School was built, the new one, has a desire to create and align the entrance and exit with the stoplight. We were unable to purchase that property for years and were able to finally do so a couple years ago. So one of the things that we're looking at here that we're going to be getting pricing on so the board can decide how they want to proceed is an entrance and exit to Overlook that aligns at the light, and some additional parking for Overlook that would sit to the east of what we're looking at, right off of the entrance. The other is Valley View Elementary School. While Valley View's parking situation is a little different when we have large events than Overlook's, they have side streets that are right there by the building. Overlook is different. Valley View's challenge is we have more support staff and other things over there needed with our multiple disability programs and some other things than we do parking spots. And so we're now looking to add parking, or what the cost would be at least. This is kind of northwest of the building. There's an area where we're focusing on, and they're going to get us, FMD Architects is going to get us some pricing. A couple more things to finish up here. First, we have a strategic plan. There's a lot that happens in a school district. You know, we're moving and as we need to day to day with decisions that have to be made. We move, and things that come up we weren't expecting. But we have big items that get put into this 5-year strategic plan. And that's something that we actively go after, work through. There's an update on the current plan with what we've achieved, with the goals that are there. This expires in December. And so our board is engaged in a new process beginning a new process to create our next 5-year plan. So we have on our website, also on our Facebook page, there is a strategic planning survey for those that may be interested in providing feedback. There's links on there to the current plan, to the plan that we had 5 years before that. We're looking for ways that our community thinks they would like to see us move forward, and give us honest, candid feedback on how we're doing in relation to the goal areas that are on our plan that we're going to be focusing and creating a new plan on. We emailed this out to all of our parents, guardians, community. It goes to about 12,000 unique email addresses about a month ago. We've sent this out to all students at the high school. Dr. Suber sent it out to them. This is posted online. So if you have time and you're interested in this type of thing, we would encourage you to take a little bit of time, provide feedback. You don't have to fill out every area, but if there's an area that you are interested in, I can assure you that the board will see your feedback, and it'll be part of discussions as they move into their planning stages in late July, early August. Our goal is to have in the fall a draft plan that we put out to the community for feedback, and then revisions made and go to our board for final consideration of approval at their December meeting this year. And the final item is, as we've done most years, our senior program for carpentry at the high school, Four Cities Compact, has built a house that will be auctioned off in June. It's in Doylestown. The address is 425 Thornway Avenue. They've done a very nice job. We have open houses that are coming up. If you're interested, it's June 10th and June 19th, 6 to 7:30 p.m. The actual auction will take place on Monday, June 23rd at 6:29 p.m. Dave Kaufman, Realty. Dave has been a huge supporter of the schools, helping us with all of our property acquisitions, and he and Russ Farnsworth and others are very involved in helping us make not only the acquisition of the property, but then the auction of that house. It's an exciting thing. So I just want to take a moment again to say thank you. There's not a day that goes by, and I mean that we're not thankful for this community and the support that they give our school district. Many of you have heard me say this before. I say this every time I have an opportunity with kids. If this is all you know, this may not seem unusual, but the level of community support that this school district has and the way that the district engages with the community, for somebody like me that grew up elsewhere, worked in a number of different places around the state, it's unique. We may not be the only, but this is more unique than most. And so, it's not lost on us that we're able to do all of the stuff that we're talking about today, all the stuff that's presented in that quality profile, and so much more that would take hours, days, or weeks to talk about because of you and the others in the community that support our schools. So Janie, thank you for letting us be here today. Thank you for your continued support.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.